Good afternoon, I'm Gary Summers, and welcome to the audio edition of Mind, Body, Soul. I have again with me another interesting and very special guest, a very good friend of mine who I met many, many years ago. Some of you may know him as an investment advisor, and some of you may know him as the Santa Claus that visits sick kids 30 to 50, who knows how many more times in the run of a year, all done on a volunteer basis, by the way. So welcome my very, very good friend, Bruce Templeton.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
Thank you, Bruce, for taking the time out of your busy day. So we'll set up, there's going to be three different segments on this audio edition. Bruce is going to talk about how he and a number of other people who do similar work as Santa Claus got together and decided that it's very difficult to physically be in so many places at the one time. So they pooled their money together and did a very interactive Santa via Zoom. So we're going to get Bruce to set up this first part of our interview, and then we're going to move into a synopsis of his TED Talk, where he had a very, very impactful TED Talk that led to some very incredible results for Bruce. And then the third part, we're going to talk about his and my interaction with hypnosis, with his weight loss journey, as well as his journey to a past life. So Bruce, do you want to just set up this first video that you sent me about how this all came together and what you do now to visit kids where you can't physically be there, particularly during the pandemic?
Right. So really all that happened was Santa and I have been good friends for 42 years. I would typically have probably 60 visits a year. We used to start with the parade. We'd end up Christmas Eve in the Janeway. And along the way, we've gone to the John Howard Society, Choices for Youth. We've gone to many, many, many organizations. We've had many. The smallest baby I've ever seen was 437 grams.
Wow.
The oldest lady Santa ever put his arms around was 103. And when he said to her, "What would you like for Christmas?" the lady said, "Come down the hall, Santa, I'll entertain you." So we've had a wide career. I knew in May or June with the pandemic that none of this was going to be possible. So a bunch of my colleagues in the US mainly, we got together, we figured out how we were going to do Zoom calls. We developed there's a software program called OBS, and it really is a simple thing to do. You layer various photos and videos and things, but we had to be careful. We had to buy you can't just take videos off the internet and use them. You'll get sued.
Right.
So a group of us bought everything we used. So to make a long story short, I then set aside 6 nights here in Newfoundland. I did 6 hours of Zoom calls with CNIB, where we talked to the children in all over Newfoundland and Labrador. Santa did Zoom with the John Howard Society, with Ron Colley's school, St. Bon's. And then I did ones where families could book a call with Santa, and they were fun. And what I did there was, I enjoyed it. I sent a little note to the parents and said, "Whisper in Santa's ear." That led me to a fascinating call. A mother called to say, "I need help with this. We've had a very tough year. The kid's dad will not be home for Christmas. He's in Brazil. The cat died in February. The 16-year-old son died in May of cerebral palsy. The dog died in August." And the 9-year-old little girl's question that she wanted Santa to answer was, "Does Santa see my brother in heaven?" So I took the time. I arranged to meet that little girl. There's a pond up off Frecker Drive. Santa went with her. We fed the ducks, and then we sat on a bench, and Santa talked to her about the saint who would become Santa Claus. And Santa assured this little girl that every time she goes to the bench in the future, she will feel the spirit of her brother, and the spirit of St. Nicholas will always be there when she is there.
Wow.
Her mother called later to say, "Thank you, Santa. That's all my daughter needs for Christmas."
So Bruce, set up this video just very briefly, because we're actually going to play the video that certainly the background video that we're going to show everybody right now. So just set that up for us. So what are people going to see throughout the different? It's about 1 minute and 30 seconds long.
All right, well then let it roll. And all that happened is the first scene is I wanted to introduce people to so that there's a song, Here Comes Santa Claus, and that's scene number one, incoming call from Santa Claus. The second scene is actually Santa sitting in his sleigh. You're at the North Pole. You see a Provincial Airlines plane. But what's rather fun is that the elves are dancing on the top of the plane. The kids are making a snowman in the back. Third scene is we take you inside the toy shop, and the elves are dancing on the table. And then we take you to a conservatory. And finally, Santa says goodbye to the kids. Santa hops in his sleigh, and the children all hear Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. I won't tell you how many hours it took to figure all this out. I'd go upstairs. My Mrs. Claus was a bit astonished when I arrived home with a gallon of green paint and painted the wall in the basement chroma green. Every night I would learn 99 ways that something doesn't work. And it took hours and hours and hours of frustration to make all this work. But in the end, it did work, and we were able to make dreams come true for children.
Okay, Bruce. So let me just play that video. It's about a minute and 30 seconds, and when we're finished that, we'll get on to the next part of the.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
Welcome to the North Pole. It's going to be a very different Christmas for boys and girls this year, and yes, Santa can do calls by Zoom. So welcome to the North Pole. Here we are outside. Here we are. It's very pretty outside today. This was this afternoon. It was bright and sunny. Now it is nighttime, and this is what it looks like. Oh, here we are. Look outside the cabin. And there's my friend Frosty. He's just fed the reindeer. They're over on the side. Now come into the big toy shop, because the toy shop now is all ready for Christmas. We're going to go into the toy shop. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Ho, 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 ho. Here we are. Look. And my silly elves, look. They're dancing on the table and playing with a candy cane. Hello, Teddy. Now let me take you into the big room where we open all the mail. Are you ready? Here we go. This is where Santa does all his chats with the boys and girls. He's very proud of them all this year. They've had a tough year. But yes, we can do all of this with Zoom. So I hope we all have a wonderful Christmas, and let's do whatever we can to make memories for children wherever they are. I'm going to run now. The reindeer want to go for a ride in the sleigh. Good night. Merry Christmas. Ho, 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 ho. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Here we go. Oh, come on, Dasher. Dee, 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 dee.
Bruce, I guess before we get into the second part of this interview, I guess the question, is certainly on my mind, and I'm sure it must be on a lot of people's minds, is how do you hold it together? I know, you can look at as an investment advisor, it's very gratifying to make some people a lot of money, but I mean, how gratifying is it to touch someone's soul is really what you're doing, isn't it?
Well, let's go through that. First of all, I if you could see me, I have on a bright red jacket, and the jacket that I have on is the International Santa Claus Hall of Fame. There are 14 of these, or there were when I got this one. There's about 20 in the world now. And I'm the only Santa in Canada that's a member of the International Santa Claus Hall of Fame. I was asked to go and be the keynote speaker in Denver, Colorado. And let me say that when you stand up in front of 600 of your peers and you're looking down at all these Santas, you've got 30 seconds to get their attention.
Absolutely.
And then you've got, as anybody looks at you when you're a guest speaker, there's two questions going through their minds. One is what's in it for me, and the second one is why should I care?
Yeah.
So remember, when you're a guest speaker, nobody really cares about you. The question is, what can you say that's meaningful to them?
Absolutely.
So I started my speech in Denver to simply say, look, to the audience, I want you to come and join me now. I'm going to take you to 3 places. I told them a little bit about Newfoundland and Gander and 9/11. And I said, you didn't even tell us in Newfoundland that 6,000 of you were going to come and land in our little town. And that was the first standing ovation I got in Denver. They were absolutely thrilled at the way Newfoundland looked after people. Second phase was I took them through my journey in my red suit. So 42 years ago, I started out as a Santa player, an actor. I played a role, a seasonal actor who put on a red suit and played something. Second phase was when I got to be that confident at this that I believe it. I believe in Santa Claus, and I go into social housing, Buckmaster Circle, Shea Heights. Santa would lie down on the floor. Kids can come and climb all over his back, pull off his hat. And you get to be so confident and you believe it. So that works very, very well. So you believe in Santa. Okay. Phase 3 comes when you're outside. It happened in a senior's home. We got into Chancellor Park. They said we need to go to room so-and-so. There's a lady passing away who would like to see Santa before she dies.
How old was she, Bruce?
Elderly.
Okay.
So what happened then, and it also happened, my daughter, Dr. Christina Templeton in the Janeway, every Christmas Eve, Santa's gone to the Janeway. So you're standing outside a door and they say, go through the door, Santa, the baby's dying. The parents and the grandparents are inside. So every funeral or every funeral that most of us go to, the priest or the minister will stand and read John 14. In my Father's house, there are many rooms. Mm-hmm. I go to prepare a place for you. So I had to develop, to answer your question, I had to develop my own mechanism to deal with this. So what I do is I carry Nicholas with me. I carry St. Nicholas in my mailbag. And I put my hand in my mailbag and I say, Nicholas, go and prepare the way for me that I will not be alone when I go through the door. So that is the truthful and honest answer to your question. The answer is I'm not by myself when I do these things.
Okay.
So when my daughter said you have to go through 2 sets of doors here, Santa, there's a little child on the other side of the door, pulled a kerosene lantern over on her head. She's burned 99% of her body. She's here alone. And then you open the doors. You say, come on, St. Nicholas, we have a job to do. You go through the doors and you just smile and you bring joy to a child or to a senior, sure, no matter what is happening in their lives. So that's the answer to that.
Okay.
So in Denver, let me just talk about Denver for a minute. So that was the second part of my speech. So the third part, nobody had fallen asleep at that point.
No, I suppose not.
So I said, now I'm going to tell you the story of the 5 letters that mean a great deal to me. And I said, there's 600 of you here listening. And if there's only one of you hears me in what I'm about to say, if there's only one of you hears me, then my speech here has been a success. I took off my red jacket, the one that I have on now, and underneath it I had on a black t-shirt with 5 letters. The 5 letters were FSYLM, and I said this to my colleagues in red. On December the 21st, 2002, 18 years ago last week, I was stopped by the police on the way home on Logie Bay Road, and I had to blow into a breathalyzer. And they came and said, Mr. Templeton, park your truck over there. You're not impaired, but almost. And tomorrow morning, ask someone to come and get you. We'll give them the keys to your vehicle. But we don't want you to drive home from here. And believe me, nothing focuses your mind like an RNC officer with a flashlight in your face when you know you've had too much to drink.
Right.
Now, I'd like to tell you that that was an isolated event, but that wasn't true. I knew that I'd been drinking too much. So I started to think about that. The next day, my wife drove me back. I drove my vehicle, and I just happened to hear a radio show where they were talking about addictions, drug addiction, alcohol addiction, even food. And the person said, the answer to an addiction is find something you love more. Find something you love more. And I thought about that I still had 20, if people had opened the newspaper and saw Bruce Templeton charged with impaired driving.
Yeah.
I mean, my reputation, my Santa journey, I still had 20 more Santa visits to go.
Yeah.
And I decided that every single thing in my life, my reputation and everything, I mean, hopefully my wife would stay with me. At any rate, I turned to my wife on the 23rd of December, 2002. And then I said to my wife, sweetheart, I'll never drink again as long as I live. At the end of my speech, 4 Santas came up in tears. They said, you have helped, we are alcoholics. We know we can't go into a room of children with alcohol on our breaths, but we couldn't find the solution. Mm-hmm. You have helped me find the answer that I've been looking for. And then I've had many, many calls from the Santas that were in the room in Denver, and I have stayed with these people as I worked to help them through their addiction. So the letters FSYLM, briefly once on an airplane, a lady from St. Pierre said, you wrote the Santa books, didn't you? I said, yes. She said, can you help me stop smoking? Out of her purse, we got her to take the pictures of her 2 grandkids. We got her to take out her silver cigarette case. We got her to put the 2 pictures of the children in her cigarette case. Yeah. That every time she opened the cigarette case from then on, she would see her children. She called me 5 years later to say, they tell me I just may see my grandchildren graduate from Memorial. If it hadn't been for you on the plane teaching me to find something I love more, then I might not be here today. Wow. So that's the story of FSYLM. And I do hope there's at least one person in the listening audience that this might be helpful.
Yeah, and it really comes down to that, doesn't it, Bruce? Is that you have to find something that you love better, and when you can come and approach life from that emotional feelings level, things really change at your very core. So the third area that I thought we would talk about is your own personal journey. First of all, with the weight loss, because I know you had approached me a number of years ago wanting to lose some weight. So can you explain to people how you were able to interpret, because that's what hypnosis is. It's really works a lot on metaphors, because what it does is it allows the individual person's subconscious mind to relate things themselves rather than trying to force an interpretation onto people. So when we use metaphors, we kind of allow the person to deal with the suggestions the way they seem to be benefiting them the most. So just talk about that weight loss part that when you approached me, and how you were able to interpret it so that it worked for you.
Well, first of all, going on a diet, I mean, everyone thinks about the word diet as you're going to, I don't know what, you're going this diet or that diet or something else. And I knew that over time, up and down, 25 pounds up, 25 pounds down. I mean, that makes no sense.
Absolutely.
And the only people who I admire who seem to have successfully managed weight loss and kept it off, they changed the way they lived.
Yeah.
So the question then became for me, well, and then I just love the unknown. I mean, really love the unknown. So the whole idea of coming and being hypnotized was something that I found thrilling. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know whether that was going to take me, but I distinctly remembered, I thought that I had been under hypnosis for maybe 15 minutes. When I came back, I said, how long were we? You said 45 or 50 minutes, and I was absolutely astonished. At any rate, what you taught me was you gave me a peace of mind. You encouraged me to, first of all, look in the mirror. You encouraged me to think about the ideal me. And then you encouraged me to think of a series of levers that I could, protein, carbohydrates, and I can move these levers. You're in control of this. And you taught me that over time, I could turn what I saw in the mirror that I wasn't exactly thrilled with, I could turn that into the ideal me. I actually found my own picture, though, that I find, and I still carry the picture in my wallet. And that was more funny than anything. I had cataract surgery. My eyes became 20/20. I've had the upper GI test done in the hospital now. They're worried about cancer in my esophagus. So every year, sometimes twice a year, I had this lovely upper GI scope thing done.
Mm-hmm.
I've had it done so many times now that I don't have any type of anesthetic. I just go in and lie on the table. I close my eyes. I pretend I'm scuba diving. I think about fish and bubbles and everything else. They do spray something down your throat. But at any rate, just for the fun of it, I took my camera once and I asked them to take a picture of my esophagus on the screen. And they did. So I took the picture and then I carry it in my wallet. And what happens is I look at it every so often and I realize that every single thing that I eat goes down this tube, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So now I can decide. I mean, I look at cake and I look at chocolate bars and I look at, and I said, oh, no, I'm just not going to do it. That's not going down that tube.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you have control over it. Absolutely.
So that's what you mean. It was FSYLM. You taught me that I have control over what I consume. And so that's really what it's all about. And thanks to you, I've lost 25 pounds. I've kept it off. But it is your providing me with the mechanism to do it that allowed me to do it.
And I would really love to take credit for that, Bruce, and I appreciate you giving me credit, but I can't take any credit for the work that you did on doing that. You deserve 100%. I just provided an opportunity, and an opportunity is only an opportunity if you take it. So right. The last thing that I wanted to talk to you about is you mentioned earlier about the unknown. And so you wanted to take a journey backward in time. So I'm trained in past life regression, and you wanted to go back in time and meet someone very special, or to see if you could actually meet someone very special. So where you had done some practice with hypnosis before, it was very easy to get you in that state of relaxation. Trust is a big part, obviously. So could you walk people through that past life regression that we did to as much of a recollection as you can? Because people think that, well, if you're under hypnosis, you don't remember anything. That's not really true. Some people, very few people, do not recall, and there are some reasons for that, but we won't get into that. But just walk through that experience that you had, because I know there are people have heard of past life regression. Some people believe, some people don't believe, but to hear it from someone who actually went through it would be very interesting to our listeners. So just walk us through that. And I know you have something at the end that I'm going to post a video of, a request that you have from our listeners. So anyway, just take it away.
Well, first of all, I just thought that the whole idea that one could meet someone in the past that you were associated with, I just thought that was incredibly interesting. And you said to me that on your journey back in time, you will come back with one word, and you will always remember the one word. And I have found that to be extremely helpful. And let me say right from the beginning, the word that I came back with is forgive. And I have used that ever since that hypnosis and ever since that experience with you. I am more and more conscious every day of the people that have hurt me, or people that I live by the word forgive. And and that came as a result of my past life experience.
And Bruce, that's probably why you look like you're 45.
Well, so here's what happened. I had written a book, and the last book that I wrote, In Search of St. Nicholas, I closed my eyes. You had me absolutely, totally relaxed. So by the way, my sleep, I go to sleep in about a minute and a half now. You have taught me how to lie down, and you've taught me how I start with my feet, and the muscles relax. Takes about maybe 5 minutes. My wife is astonished at how fast I can go to sleep. Right?
See, the problem is we focus on the things that are wrong. We focus on the things that could go wrong. We focus on the problems that we have, and that naturally is a flight or fight syndrome that increases adrenaline and it increases cortisol, and the very thing that's going to keep you awake. Anyway, continue.
So I relaxed and I went back and back and back and back, and you know, the journey took me through Newfoundland history, and then I went back through wars, and I got back through the Middle Ages, and and finally I met a 9-year-old little boy, and the 9-year-old little boy, his parents had died, and he was being brought up in a monastery. His parents had left him a lot of money. And I thought, you know, I really understand you. I mean, you're a neat kid. And he had money, and he was very concerned about he shouldn't have this money. So the priest said to him, look, his guardian, look, go for a walk down in the town. There's a man who's a widower. He's got 3 daughters. They have no money. So this young kid went down. He was 16 when he did this, and he put the money in he reached in through the window, and he put the money in through there, in through the window. There 3 stockings were there by the fireplace. He put the money in their stockings. And what happened was I spent a lot of time back then with Nicholas. I stayed with Nicholas 16. I wasn't with him. I came back from the hypnosis before the Council of Nicaea, where Nicholas was, the writing of the Nicene Creed, the agreeing on when Easter was going to be. But every time you see a stained glass window of Nicholas, there's 3 of something. He has a tray in his hand, 3 bags of gold, 3 children, 3 ships. And on my Santa suit today, embroidered on the arms and on the bottom of my Santa coat, there are 3 snowflakes that represent Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, the Trinity.
Bruce, are you saying that, just so that the listeners are quite clear, that little boy that you met way back when was St. Nicholas, the original Santa Claus?
I am saying that the little boy I spent time with was St. Nicholas.
Okay.
So then what would be so much fun now is that someone sent me once, I have it here, if the listeners want to Google Manna, M-A-N-N-A, from St. Nicholas, you'll see in Bari, Italy, B-A-R-I, Italy, each year they take from the tomb of St. Nicholas, they take liquid. Manna comes from the tomb. And I have it here in my hand. I was sent it. So it'd be fun if there's anybody out there who knows anything about DNA, or if there's a student at Memorial who wants to do a DNA sample study, then have I got a job for you. I want someone to put a needle down through this cork, and I want to learn about what is the DNA that I have in this little bottle here. It would be fun to find out.
Bruce, can you show up? Can you hold up
and then it might be fun to find out if I'm related to him at all.
Can you hold up the bottle? Because I'm going to show that video. Just hold up the bottle. When did you get that?
It was sent to me after my speech in Denver.
Oh, wow. Okay.
2 years ago.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So again, everybody, if there's anybody listening who knows someone or who can do some DNA, could uncover some big mysteries. And who knows, Bruce, when you go back and you met St. Nicholas and now you're actually continuing his work, it's I don't know if that's a coincidence or not.
What it does is when the child says, Santa, my mommy died in a car accident in October. Will her spirit be with you in the sleigh on Christmas Eve? When a child says, Santa, can you explain to me why did my daddy love to drink more than he loves me? Mm-hmm. When you're at, and by the way, I don't answer any of the other lovely letter one year that I didn't get to thank a mother for this. The child said, my puppy dog died of cancer. My mommy says, if I am really good, you will bring my puppy back to life, and I will find my puppy alive under the tree on Christmas morning. Thank you, Mom, right?
Yeah, well, I think people are well-intentioned. I guess they're grasping for whatever they can to find some comfort, or to try and bring some comfort to a child who misses something, you know. So
well, I would like to end with this. I could do nothing of what I do without my wife, Paula. She's put up with me for 52 years. When we do the flight to the North Pole, the night before that, we have the 17 questions here in the North Pole that the children have asked. Mm-hmm. So and then Mrs. Claus sits with me, and we think what the answers are going to be. So do your feet smell as bad as Uncle Billy's when you take off your boots? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
But the tougher questions about dealing with death, dealing with the death of a family member, you can't lie to the children, but you have to give them hope and a belief in the future. And that is the peace that St. Nicholas brings to me. Of the 600 Santas that were in Denver, some of them are in it for the money. I mean, some of them are phase one Santas. They're seasonal actors. They put on a coat. They charge $100 a visit. Mm-hmm. For me personally, in the 42 years, 43 years, I've never charged for Santa visits. And my books and my Santa revenue has now bought polio vaccine for 385,000 children in the world through Rotary. So, so that's the world that I live in. Right?
Bruce, you cannot buy that success. And, you know, I always say to people, you know, you decide what success is. If success is millions of dollars in the bank, then great for you. If success is bringing hope to people all around the world, then that's what success means to you. My friend, it's been a pleasure, absolutely. Thank you very much for taking the time to impart your wonderful words of wisdom. And we will get together soon and talk about our next venture that I talked to you about before.
You're still on the good list. Merry Christmas.